Hello, everyone. I am back again, as promised, to talk about the retirement. Do I have enough to retire with? And I said that I had some data for living abroad. And I just went through and made sure everything was correct. And it seems like prices all over the world are rising. They're high on the rise. Uh, Now, these are median prices taken from several different sources. So, like the home ownership and rental in Central Park of New York City. I expected Central Park, New York City to cost like $1 million a month. They, or at least $1 million a year. I was not expecting that to be that low, and that's high, I understand, but it's a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. And Honolulu really surprised me. I thought they were going to be like $1 million a month. They're actually almost half of what Central Park was. All right, so this is actually not figured into there. I went off of rental. Because unless you really spend a lot of time prepping, you're not going to buy right off the bat. You're going to go over there and you're going to start renting. And B, in most cases, not all, well, actually, in all cases, it's less expensive to rent. And then you don't have to deal with things. Owning has its advantages even overseas. But so these are the median prices that I got. And I picked a little small town in the south, a little small sleepy town. And then I picked the Philippines, I picked Panama, and I picked Ecuador. And you can see in here, and utilities. This is very hard to gauge. This is per person, by the way. And utilities will not double per person, go up a little bit. But I just did this based on one person. So these utilities will go up or down with how much you use your air conditioner or your heater, how many people you have, how much time you spend in your abode. If you're out and about all the time and can shut everything but like the refrigerator down, you probably won't use as much in utilities. But if you're like a homebody sitting there pigging out on what are those little egg rolls that they serve in the Philippines? Lumpia. You're sitting there pigging out on lumpia all day, playing your video games with your air conditioner running. You're liable to have a huge, huge utility bill. And again, food. It also depends upon how big of a pig you are. But these prices are median, and I actually tend to raise a little above median for utilities and for food because I'm a big guy that likes my air conditioning. And I didn't go way out of whack with these figures, so that's pretty average of what you're going to find. Plus, the cost of things worldwide is on the rise. I don't know why. It seems like the only place where the price probably has dropped is Honolulu and New York. I was really surprised at those prices. Kudos to you two guys for dropping. San Diego was a little bit higher than I expected. That little sleepy town there in Georgia was a lot higher than I expected, but I guess they don't play dual banjos there. No offense, guys. All right, the Philippines was higher than I expected. Now, with this said, they say that you can live off of as a single person, which is what these figures are, for about $1,400 a month. Then they go on and they say, yeah, and you'll pay this much for housing, this much for utilities, this much for food, this much for transportation. I'm sorry, that adds up to 22, not 14. It's still low, but it's not as low as 14. Panama, they killed me. They said the average wage in Panama is $700 a month. Minimum wage is like $350 or something like that, I think it was. They said the average wage is $700, so you can live comfortably on $700 a month. It costs $800 a month to rent a house. Well, yeah, you can live comfortably in Panama on $700 a month if you don't have a roof over your head. Uh, come on. This this was more than one website that did that too. Uh, the figures were a little bit different. Like they said that the average housing rental for a single person was like $1,200, and you could live comfortably off of $1,200 a month. I'm like, yeah, if you don't eat, sleep. I mean, if you don't eat, use utilities, or go anywhere or do anything, and don't get sick. You, the term comfortable is relevant here, people. And that's what you got to figure out when you're trying to figure out, do I have enough to retire? That question is so generic. As I said yesterday, it all depends upon what you are willing to give up. Are you willing to go live in an area that you're maybe not used to? If you're from like Central Park and you want to retire on $30,000 a year, can you do it in Douglasville, Georgia? Probably, but you're not going to have that same style of lifestyle that you had. It won't be bad. Douglasville is probably a pretty good little town. I mean, it's still in America. You could live for a lot less in the Manila, Philippines, but I've been there. I can tell you right now, you could live probably less than $2,200 in the Philippines, but you're going to be living with a family, and that doesn't mean mother, father, and daughter. That means grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, nephew, niece, 4 sets of brothers living in there, in a little apartment that's about the size of, maybe the size of your living room. That apartment includes the kitchen, the sink area, which is not in the kitchen, a bathroom, 1 bedroom, and a living room, and like a little foyer for studying and stuff like that. All of that about the size of your living room. All those people at nighttime when they go to bed, it's grab a place on the floor. Literally, it's grab a place on the floor. So you can live very cheaply in the Philippines if you want to live like them. And there's nothing wrong with living like them, believe it or not. I did that for a little bit. They turned the air conditioners on for me at first because I was having trouble. So it was obviously freezing them out. So when I would fall asleep sometime in the middle of the night, they would get up and turn the air conditioner off. And they kept backing that time up until one day they turned that air conditioner on. I'm like, nah, yeah, I'm kind of cold. Let's turn that off. They knew how to acclimatize me very quickly. Didn't take 30 days. It took, a week to acclimatize me. And I guarantee you, I was burning up a lot of their electricity, but I also paid them dearly. I hope that they didn't want me to pay them, but I'm like, no, I'm living here. I'm eating your food. I'm using your utilities, and I'm a big guy. Yeah, let me at least pay you something. And I hope I compensated them enough. The Panama, again, you can. I'm on the wrong thing here. Panama, you can live again for less than you can in the Philippines, apparently. And again, that's all going to be taking into account what you want to give up. Now, Ecuador, this Ecuador figure right here is actually high. They did not include a cost for medical. I had to enter that. And they are some of the figures in here for like the recreation and the food is including stuff that you would be accustomed to. They're talking about going into a expat part of town and having a nice sit down dinner for 2, a couple of times a month, all kinds of stuff. And like I said, this is per person, so you can double that figure if you've got a couple. Almost triple it if you've got like kids. It won't be quite triple because kids won't eat as much. They'll probably get discounts, stuff like that. But is it possible to live nice in Ecuador? From everything that I read, it is very possible to live very nice in Ecuador. You start getting 1,000 people a day expatting into Ecuador, where they got a huge border crossing problem. The prices are liable to go skyrocket on you. But as it stands right now, Ecuador is a viable place to live. Currently, in this country I live in, you could get by probably off the same thing and have very nice accommodations. Very, very nice accommodation. I'm talking about nicer than any of these places, to include Central Park in Hawaii. I'm talking a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom apartment, huge apartment, 2 living rooms, and everything else, and you probably get by with less than what you would in Ecuador. Talking about eating out every day, so you don't even have to worry about cooking your own meal. All that happy stuff. However, there's not much in the way of recreation. That's going to drop to zero unless you do a lot of traveling and looking at old stuff, and that's going to just raise your transportation cost. Might have to spend a little bit on recreation, not much. But yeah, so there are ways to retire off of a low amount. I'm retired military. I get about $3,500 a month in retirement. That lets me, and that's just my military retirement. That's not including the 3 or 4, what do you call those things? 401k plans that I've got floating around out there. That's not including what I would get for Social Security when I become eligible. That's not including my stocks, my bonds, and stuff like that. So I could live comfortably in some place like the little sleepy town of Douglasville, Georgia. So I went west, I went northeast, I went southeast, and I went southwest, and I went, I didn't go northwest, but I went Hawaii. I did not look up Alaska. Most people try to avoid the cold when they retire. Some people like the cold, but most people try to avoid the cold when they retire. So that's why I was looking at, warmer places, except for New York's not necessarily known for its tropics, but almost all the rest of these, actually, except for maybe Douglasville. I don't know what the weather is like there, but like Ecuador, Panama, the Philippines, those are all jungle areas. And San Diego, that's a tropical area, and Hawaii is obviously tropical. So I got a lot of tropics in here. And as you can see, and I did put in medical and health care on all of these because I don't have to worry about it. I've got my retirement. I've got my medical for life. And the U.S. government broke its contract with me because when I joined, it was in my contract that if I retired, I had free medical for life. And then like 2 years ago or so, they said, nope, we're going to make you pay for your health care. Even though we paid you diddly squat, we paid you $100 a month when you first came in the military, when your peers were making almost $1,000 a month in the civilian world. And we made you live in 3-bedroom rooms and that were smaller than some people's closets. Literally 3 people, and this included a bathroom. And they were all condemned barracks that had been condemned by the Army Corps of Engineers. And I lived in those, and then 20 years later come back, and my Marines were still living in those condemned barracks. They built brand new barracks across the road from us, gave them to the Air Force, and turned around and gave the Air Force reimbursement for living in substandard housing. And they had brand new barracks, 1-man rooms. We weren't getting squat, and we were living 3 men to a room in condemned barracks. And they're going to make me pay for my own health care now after paying me squat for 20 plus years and making me live, in substandard housing without reimbursement and everything else, and then promising me free health care for life and then making me pay for it. I'm sitting here complaining about it. It's not that much, but it still chaps my hide. But it's like $500 a month for medical in New York. That surprised me. That it was higher than Honolulu. I figured Honolulu would be, much higher. I figured it'd be like 500 in Honolulu and 300 in Central Park. But that figure, San Diego, that really surprised me. And that Douglasville figure, that really floored me. Douglasville's the highest one. I mean, we're talking boondocks. I guess they've got a lot of dental problems out there. Maybe they do play the dueling banjos out there. And no offense, people from Douglasville. I don't know. Yeah, you're probably the best people in the world. But, man, you are paying high price for medical care out there, it looks like. The Philippines surprised me. $500 a month for a single person in the Philippines. That's kind of high. Panama was more like what I expected the Philippines to be. I figured the Philippines would be about $50 and Panama would be about $75. So I wasn't off by much on this. And Ecuador was kind of surprising. I figured they'd be about $75, but they're talking $120. Now that may have been per couple. I didn't look at that too closely. I put the $120 down. I got it off of several different websites, but those websites tend to go by couples. Now, I should have double checked that. But we're talking really inexpensive living in abroad. If you want to do that, you can go to South America. You can go to Central America. Yes, I understand there's no such thing as Central America anymore. It's because you had a bunch of teachers that failed geology rather. They failed geology and became geology teachers, and they just dropped South America out of the books. Central America out of the books. And what I don't know is, do they include Central America in South America now, or is it included in North America? I don't know. I don't care. It's Central America. It's not. It is a continent, all right? Learn proper geology and then come talk to me. I'm using the wrong word, aren't I? No, I think I'm using the right one. And then I got, the Philippines is Far East, and you got several places in the U.S. That gives you a feel. That also gets you thinking about, what do I want to do? Do I want to buy a house, rent a house? How many utilities do I want to have running? How much food do I want to eat out? And how much food do I want to eat, period? How much traveling do I want to do? Oh, this is another thing too. That cost of transportation. You might have some enterprising young person hit someplace like Peru or Panama or Ecuador, the Philippines, even in these other places. And they are constantly on the go. But they do all of their travel on foot. They walk, they hike. Their idea of a day is they go out, they walk, and they look for somebody to meet, and they meet and they talk to them, and they get to talking. They invite them over to this little coffee stand, and they have, a cup of coffee and some cheese or something like that, or depending upon where you're at. And then you go home after 4 or 5 hours, and you do some exercising and stuff like that, stretching, and maybe watch some TV, and you get by on your whole day on 38 cents for the entire day. Maybe not every day, but no transportation cost, no real food cost, very little utilities cost. The only thing constant about these people are their housing rental, because you can't get by with that unless you just say, okay, I'm not going to stay in my house for a week and then I got to find someplace else to move to. And that's not how you do it. All right, so this is going to remain fairly constant, regardless of whether you have one person or Well, actually, if you have more than two, you might go up in price because you might need a bigger place. But um, like I said, all of this is going to come to bear on how much you use, how much transportation, public transportation do you use? Do you buy a car? Do you have to buy, if you buy a car, how much is the gas and the maintenance and the insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Or do you just use and all of this is public transportation. Even in these areas here, I went off of what I think was public transportation costs. Although Douglasville may not have been, I don't know. But everything else is going to be, you know, how much do you want to use your utilities? How much do you want to eat? How far are you walking? How far are you traveling? How many times are you going to get sick? Now, this is insurance cost. So this is just the cost of the insurance. How much are you going to use in recreation? What kinds of recreation are you going to use? $80 a day. I doubt you're going to do $80 a day of recreation in New York. You might. You might. I don't know. But there it is in a nutshell. And like I said, ownership was not figured in. This was Echo 4, which is your housing rental, all the way out to J4. All right. And it's like that for every one of them, Echo to Juliet on every one of them. And then I just multiplied this figure by 12 to come up with the annual cost of living. So this is an eye-opener here. You can live in Ecuador for a year on just under twice what it would cost you to live for 1 month in New York. So 2 months worth of living in New York, and you will exceed the cost of living in Ecuador for an entire year. So that gives you a feel for things, gives you something to think about, and I hope that this helps you out. You can Google all this information and look at it. It's not that hard to Google cost of a house in San Diego, cost of rent in San Diego, cost of utilities in San Diego, cost of food in San Diego, cost of transportation in San Diego. Sometimes it won't be so clear. You have to go in and type in, how much money do I need to budget for transportation in San Diego? And I hate that, because then you've broken your chain of cost of this, cost of that. It's easy to go and just change one word, but when it won't pop up for you and you have to change the whole sentence, it's a pain in the neck. But yeah, this is not too hard to put together, people. It's a quick and easy spreadsheet. I am going to save this one for myself, but I'm also going to close this off. I will be doing other spreadsheets later to show you some more tricks with the spreadsheets. What to do if you foul up a formula and can't figure out what the original formula was, especially in Open Office, because it obliterates the formula. It's just like ref. Whereas in Excel, it at least will give you part of the original formula and a question mark on whatever was the problem. But you'll have the bulk of the formulas still in place. So I will be going over those at a later time. And for now, I'm closing out. I hope you guys have a great and wonderful day and a great and wonderful life. And I hope I've prompted you to go do some research and go to YouTube and look these places up too. People put out some cool videos. They visit and show you things, and you can get a feel before you even go on vacation there. I also would ask that you consider going on vacation at least one time to these places before deciding to move there. That way you don't say, hey, I'm just going to move to Ecuador, because this looks really cool, and you get there and you find out, oh, I cannot take this heat. I don't speak the language. I don't want to have nothing to do with this, and then you've got to find your way back. All right, closing out. Y'all have a great day. Bye now.